This weekend.
And Shiri Appleby from the CW drama Life Unexpected joins me in studio. That's next on Hollywood 411.
Hollywood 411.
Life Unexpected is a new drama on the CW. It's a coming-of-age story, but it's not what you think. It's the two adults who do the growing up.
What? What is the matter with you?
Okay, calm down.
Calm down? Is that how you get someone to calm down, by calling them and humiliating them in public?
I called you last night. You hung up on me.
Oh my God, you haven't changed a bit. Except your hairline.
What does that mean you talking about my hair?
What? What is so important that you couldn't wait until after I was off the air?
Kate, meet Lux, our daughter.
And joining us now is Shiri Appleby. And Shiri, this show looks so heartwarming. I'm so excited about this show. So for the audience, because it hasn't come out yet, let's just briefly say how your daughter that you gave up 16 years ago for adoption comes into your character, Kate's life.
Sure. So the story is basically that when I was 16, I lost my virginity and got pregnant and chose to give the baby up for adoption. And now, 16 years later, she comes to find me and the father because she wants to get emancipated out of the foster care system. She's never been adopted.
Emancipated. So you thought that she was going into this adoptive family, but she was then
right. I was told that when I was choosing to give her up, that they'd find her a really great home, that she'd be adopted. So I never looked for her. And then 16 years later, I'm a radio talk show host, the baby's daddy, as I like to call him, calls and tells me on the air, like, Kate, you have to come outside. He sort of ambushes the talk show. And I run outside, like, what is your problem? And he says, this is your daughter.
As we just saw in the clip. Kind of delicate subject matter, but I feel like at the same time it manages to be heartwarming.
Yeah, the show is actually really fun. They've done something really smart where they put us in these funny situations. So it's very funny. It does, like, a lot of people are referring to it like Juno meets Gilmore Girls. And there is a lot of that witty, quick banter. Ryan and I, my fiance, are radio talk show hosts. So it's a lot of fun things that are going on in the show, wrapped into the fact that we are now presented with our daughter and dealing
that drama. Yes, but it is really refreshing to see a show that's not about cops and robbers.
Exactly.
It's not about the emergency room.
No.
It's about just real relationship between real families and how people adapt and deal with each other.
Exactly.
Right?
And how do you grow up? How do you at 32 start to mature? Because I don't think we just age and mature because we're a number.
Right.
We have to choose to, like, become adults. And so now these group of, like, early 30-somethings are having to choose to grow up because they're presented with, like, choices that they made at 16.
Right, which is ironic because your daughter you gave up at 16, and I gotta tell you, Shiri, you look like you're in your 20s. I mean, you look so young. You don't look old enough to have a 16-year-old in person. But I guess that is the story, which is people really do have kids this young, 16 years old, and can look like babies.
You don't see it on TV.
Right.
But, like, it's possible. I am the age. And when the show came out, I was like, I don't know. I just don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't think I look this age either. And they were very clear. Liz Tiglar and Gary Fleeter, the creators of the show, like, no, this is a story we want to tell. We want to tell a story about a girl that doesn't look old enough.
Right, so you touched on Liz Tiglar, the creator of the show, who was adopted.
She was.
And I understand you really researched this role and sort of powwowed with Liz Tiglar about, is this authentic? And you read books?
I read a book that came out about, like, what women were feeling like. It was before Roe versus Wade, like, how they felt having to give their children up for adoption. And I read the book and I was, like, highlighting a lot of the things, like, this is what I think the character would be feeling and thinking. And I gave a copy to Liz before we started just so we could be on the same page. And as the season's gone along, a lot of the stuff that is in that book has made its way into the story about the character. Because, you know, like, what did the character feel like? Who was she talking to? Who was in the emergency room with her?
Right.
Why did she decide to give this baby up for adoption?
So the reality is there for that story.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that Liz always says that she always had this fantasy that Nancy Reagan was her mother, which is crazy. And yeah, and so the crazy thing is that Lux, my daughter on the show, grew up listening to me on the radio.
Right.
And so now it's hard for her to believe that this woman that she, like, could fantasize being her mother actually
really
is her mother.
Her mom. Okay.
So, like, I am Nancy Reagan.
In a way you are.
Thank
just
you.
say no. Okay, Shiri, great to have you.
Oh,
the show looks great. Life Unexpected premieres January 18th, Monday on the CW at 9/8 Central in Hollywood 411. We'll be right back.